Welcome back to Restless. My name is Father Joseph Gill, priest of the Diocese of Bridgeport, Connecticut, and you have joined myself and Paul and Lauren and Diane as together we restlessly seek the face of both Christ and Mary in today's crazy and mixed up world. And it is beautiful to think about Our Lady. And one of the best ways and most ancient prayers to Our Lady is the Rosary. So what's your relationship with the Rosary? Do you pray it? Do you love it? Do you struggle with it? Has it changed? Has your relationship with the Rosary changed throughout your life? Have you always prayed it? What's the deal with you and the Rosary?
I love it. I pray it every day. I probably started praying it a good amount in college, just like stopping in at the chapel. And that was before I really even was like serious about my faith. You know, I was definitely going to Mass on Sundays, but I was introduced to it as a child, like my family, and I hated it then. But like before Mass on Sundays, my mom would make us, you know, as a family, pray the Rosary together. And yeah, I just remember we were all kind of just, you know, obnoxious, and you get punishments of like, okay, now you can't sit on the couch, you have to kneel on the wood floor and things like that, you know, like as a kid, that's hard. But yeah, I pray it every day. I think I like, you know, I picked it up in college and then I stopped for a while, and then I started like I think it was 2018 or so. For Lent, I started, like, my thing was I'm going to go to daily Mass. And then I started, you know, I was, like, just going to do it for those 40 days. And then I just I was like, can't stay away, you know? And then that December, I did the consecration to Mary. And that's when I feel like everything just, like, went into overdrive of, like, I definitely felt sort of, I mean, it wasn't like a feeling, but, like, you sense the shift. And, yeah, I've been praying the Rosary ever since. I love it.
Awesome. Do you pray the Rosary, Paul?
Yes, nearly every day.
Okay.
I would be lying if I said I prayed it 7 days a week, every week. But
you get like 5 days a week?
Yeah, maybe 6.
All right.
Yeah, it's great. I started praying it every day more or less during COVID, because I came to the realization that I was going for a long walk every day during COVID and I wasn't doing anything. And so I started praying the Rosary.
Nice.
And I never stopped.
Before that, like when you were a kid or anything, did you like the Rosary? No.
Not in the household, no.
Oh, you
I
never
mean,
prayed,
I think, no. So it never was something that was really part of my life until, I'm going to say fairly recently. Probably started to pray it more often post-college.
Okay.
And then very often now.
Nice.
So I love the Rosary. It's, I know the days that I don't pray it. Those are usually not great days.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's a big, I don't know what, like I haven't prayed the Rosary today, but I'm going to walk home and pray the Rosary.
I completely agree with that, though. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I can't define it, but it's efficacious, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm not on their level. I'll just be upfront. I have only started praying it within the last 2 years. I do have the habit of listening to the daily gospel and praying the Rosary on the way to work, but I do get off of that. Like I changed jobs, and I'm now going to Queens in the morning, temporarily for the U.S. Open, and I'm driving in with somebody, so I'm not praying it. And it's on my mind that I'm not doing it, but am I going to make sure that I get it in tonight before bed? Like, no, you know, like I know myself, it's like I have to finish doing laundry and I need to eat dinner, and I really want to swing by Holy Spirit if I could because of adoration, and I'm really supposed to try to get my prayer time in. That's like a main thing for me. And no, I don't notice a difference if I don't pray it. I can't say that I have that. And I did the consecration to Mary a couple of years ago. I didn't feel like I noticed any change from that. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not there, or I'm not feeling or seeing the grace, which can happen, right?
Yeah. But you have a really good prayer life, regardless of the Rosary.
Really good.
Right?
That's generous.
I mean, don't you do 30 minutes a day?
Oh, I'm supposed to. Like every time that my sister, my spiritual director, messages me, like she texted me last week, how are things going? So I told her all these things, like new job, this is what's going on, figuring out new housing, you know. Wow, that sounds intense. How's prayer time? And I'm like, I knew this.
You were dreading that question.
I knew it. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I try. It's also just, it's not the same if I do it at home than if I do it in adoration. So then I try to go to adoration. But again, it's like, I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses, but other
But you
things
are.
just fill up my time.
Yeah.
But I am playing volleyball on Wednesdays, and I will go from the beach, Sandy, to St. Cecilia's and go. But sometimes I get there like 8:50, and Father Marius will tell me, well, you only have like 10 minutes. I'm like, I know. I tried. I was socializing with my friends, but it's like, it's a focus I'm really trying to work on. It's like to cut back on the social time to make the time for prayer time.
So one of the things, I did Exodus 90 last year. And, well, I guess this, never mind. Anyway, so I would drive 3 hours up to Vermont to go skiing. You can go skiing on Exodus, just to let everyone know. It's okay, it's allowed.
You can still smile and have fun, yes.
But yeah, like 3 hours in the car silently, like I meet people there, let's say, is challenging. So I discovered.
Is it?
There, for me.
Oh, okay.
And there's an hour and 20-minute Gregorian chant Rosary on Spotify. And it's phenomenal. It's so good. But it's an amazing way to pray the Rosary if you have a long car ride.
That's beautiful.
Highly recommend it.
Beautiful.
And it's beautiful.
Some people do the app, the Laudate Rosary.
I can't do the English being read to Rosary.
You could do the Latin being read to Rosary.
Chanted Latin. Like with the Glory Be as Polyphony.
Oh, wow.
It was beautiful. I mean, come on.
That's pretty elevating.
I can't do the being read to, though. Like, even if it comes on EWTN radio, I turn it off.
I find it hard. Yeah, it's hard, hard to pray with an app.
No offense to
I like Hallow.
very Tuscan.
Because some days, like, I don't want to say it out loud. Some days I'll say it in my head. Some days I'm like, I just need Hallow on, and I'm kind of like not even really praying it, but that's where I'm at. And then with Hallow, you can add background music, so I like the light piano to accompany. It's peaceful.
Right.
Nice.
What's your
Set the
relationship with the Rosary?
ambiance. As a kid, I didn't really like the Rosary. We prayed it once a week on the way to church. It was something I had to do. And then when I was 16, I decided for Lent I was going to take on the worst penance I could think of, which was praying the Rosary every day. And I prayed it as fast as I possibly could, like 9 minutes, 8 minutes.
9 minutes,
like,
that's
just
it.
really
Yeah, you
like
can do
busting
it.
right through, But I found at the end of Lent, you just can't put it down, as your experience is that Lent forms good habits in you.
And now you pray all 4 mysteries every day.
Yeah, during COVID, like I've always wanted to. It's kind of always been like a goal of mine. And so like maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, I started doing 2 sets of mysteries a day, 10 decades. And then during COVID, God was like, yeah, you got tons of time in your hands. Just do all 20. And since then, I'm just like, yeah.
Do you do them
Crushing it.
consecutively?
No.
So you do like 4 rosaries?
Like I did 1 rosary. I had to drive to Bridgeport today, so 1 rosary time. Usually like my car time is rosary time. Like on
Do
the
you
way.
pray the intro prayers too?
No.
So just the decades?
Well, I pray the interest
Subsequent-
prayers at the beginning
Yeah.
of the day, and then 5 decades, and pick up another 5 decades. I mean, you can do 2 full rosaries in half an hour.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So it's, very doable. But it's actually really cool if you pray all 4 because you're getting the whole of Christ's life.
Mm.
And it's cool to think about, because then you can make connections meditatively. Like, all right, I remember I was meditating on this back this morning when I was thinking about the Annunciation, and now he's dying on the cross, and like the connections between the two. And it's cool to see.
I do like the days, though. They make sense to me. Like Sunday's always the glorious mysteries. Friday's the sorrowful mysteries. Those are
Thursday. What's Thursday? Do you know?
luminous mysteries.
Luminous.
Yes, luminous. Yeah.
It
I'd
used
like
to be joyful.
Did you just be joyful?
So I'd like to share a story about, because some people might be like, why should I pray the Rosary at all? And so someone sent this to me. You can Google it, but it's called on YouTube, Power of One Hail Mary. So it's like a 2-minute video, but it's basically this priest who shares a story, and it's about this guy who was, it was his friend, like a very holy man, and he was running around his neighborhood, and, he passed a house, and there was an ambulance in the driveway and everything, and he thought, like, he was a good guy, so he was like, oh, maybe I should stop to see, like, if this person needs help, but he figured, like, he's not a doctor, the ambulance is there, so he just kept running, and he said that he prayed 1 Hail Mary, and he didn't like make the sign of the cross. He just said it like, interiorly. And then a week later, he said he was running in the same neighborhood, and this woman like screamed out to him, and she was like, she said, "You saved my life," and he was like, "I'm sorry, we don't know each other," and she said, "No, like I recognize your face. Like last week when I got sick and the ambulance brought me to the hospital, I was dying, and she said that Jesus appeared to her and held out his hand, the palm of his hand, and that man's face was on the palm of his hand, and she like apparently revealed to her that, you were going to die, but because of that man's prayer, that Hail Mary that he said, you're going to live. And, so, I mean, you can check it out yourself. I just think it's just like, it gave me chills to think that's the power of one Hail Mary. So now I've started saying like whenever I hear like ambulance sirens or just like anyone's intention, I don't know. It's incredible to think like how powerful one short prayer is.
Yeah. That's actually amazing because just today, I was running and I ran past these 7 cop cars. They were all parked in a circle. And I was like, what's going on? And there was one car that had ran into a telephone pole and the airbags had exploded and everything. And there was, a father and a daughter who had gotten out, and they were sitting by the side of the road just kind of looking a little dazed. So I prayed for them, shot them a blessing and a Hail Mary as we passed by, and who knows, maybe
yeah,
save their life.
I mean, you got to believe in the power of it.
That's actually really amazing. Wow.
Yeah, it gave me chills. So I was like, wow, this like reinvigorates sort of my desire to pray the Rosary.
I think that you mentioned something about intentions and using Rosary is a great chance. A lot of people say, pray for me, pray for this, pray for that. The Rosary for me is a chance to remember those, like offering the Rosary or offering a decade, whatever, for those specific intentions. That seems to be when I remember. Otherwise, I'll forget.
Yeah. So are you a bad Catholic if you don't pray the Rosary?
No.
Like Lauren? I mean, like...
No.
Whoa.
No,
Settle down there, Tiger. No,
because when I was a kid, of course, I was just really struggling with wanting to love the Rosary because I had to pray it, but to love it, like, if you don't love it, is that okay?
I mean, I think it's okay, but it's a devotion, right? So you don't have to pray the Rosary. But I think that, like anything, it requires discipline and sort of perseverance. So I don't know. For myself, I'm a very disciplined person. Like I run pretty much every day. So when I was determined to start praying the Rosary, I'm like, there are certainly days I don't like come to Mass or like start, and sometimes I either do it before Mass or like when I'm running. Some days I'm like, this is the last thing I want to do. Like I'm not going to lie. I don't feel like doing it, but I make myself do it. And I mean, to Paul's point, there definitely is this like weird sense of something being off when I don't pray it.
For sure.
I think that just the benefits, right? Like you were mentioning it a little bit before, but like the meditation on it's not just like, repeating endless Hail Marys and not thinking or meditating. It's an opportunity to meditate on the mysteries of Christ's life. And so there are so many things that like, I don't know, like with the joyful mysteries, for example, like the Annunciation, right? I just think of, Mary's obedience and sort of how she was trying to in every moment of her life glorify the Lord, So like for those 10 beads, I'll try to like just meditate on, okay, like just pray for sort of the strength to like have that kind of obedience of putting God first, right? And trying to glorify him in all these small moments of my life that seemed like just so mundane. The visitation, right? Like nothing is impossible for God. So I'll think about that for like these situations in my life where, I'm really struggling with something like Christ is king, that he can do anything, that he can bring anything out of this, and that I just have to put my trust in him. So it's like an exercise of trust. Also like charity, right? Of true like love of neighbor and growing in that love. I think of like the nativity of Joseph kind of leading Mary and Mary allowing herself to be led. So like, what does that look like in my life? Do I allow the Lord to be my shepherd, or am I trying to grasp at things? Like poverty in the manger, Jesus detached from everything. Am I detached from worldly goods, and not just worldly goods, but like my own plans for my life? Like there are just so many things that you can kind of meditate on in his life, and then think about sort of like how and ask for the graces to image him and have, essentially ask Christ to live in you. But
so is there a mystery?
To echo Lauren, I'm not at that level. That's awesome. I'm going to remember that.
Who zones out when they pray the Rosary?
I do sometimes.
Yes.
Mother?
Oh, yeah.
So I have a recommendation for that, though. There's this website, and let me just make sure I have it right. But it's this is how I like sort of got into the whole meditation. But it's called rosarycenter.org, and there's scriptural. I can't speak.
Scriptural.
Like meditations for each bead, because I was the same thing of like I just like my mind would drift, and now it's like every bead is intentional, and I've done it like because I do it every day and look at it every day. It's like I can be on my run and actually be meditating on all of those things. So I think it's just like it's a fantastic opportunity to think about like to really think about like what are the things that I need to work on, where I'm weak, where I'm not trusting,
Sure.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff.
One thing I heard that was helpful, I believe it was on Joe and Joe's show.
Veritas plug.
Yeah, the
1350.
how we say Jesus right in the middle of every Hail Mary. So like every time you say Jesus, you can kind of bring yourself back to the mystery, which has helped me.
So I think that's an important point, because some of our Protestant brothers and sisters say that when we pray the Rosary, we're doing something that Christ commanded us not to do. Well, two things. One is to, put an idol. They say that Mary's an idol. And the other thing is to not babble like the pagans, right? Who think they're going to be heard because there are many words, right? How is this different than babbling like the pagans who just keep repeating prayers, thinking that if you do it 50 times, you get, greater hearing and presence of God?
Well, I think you have to consider the Hail Mary prayer just in general. Well, first of all, we're citing Scripture. So I don't think babbling like pagans wouldn't necessarily babble about Scripture. And the second part of the Hail Mary, the newer part, so to speak, is asking for Mary's intercession. So I don't think that's necessarily babbling like pagans.
But repeating it over and over?
Sure, why not?
Well, what's the difference?
So I think I was watching this. I was watching yes, I think you should meditate and not zone out, but it happens, and we're human, and that. Like, sorry, try not to, right? I mean, I don't know what to say, but I would say that I was watching this Matt Fradd interview with Peter Kreeft, and the church puts a big emphasis on the Rosary. There's plenary indulgences related to it, so it's important. It's not necessary, but it's important. And Peter Kreeft's theory was just do it. Just do it.
So, like, I don't understand. Like, just pray the Rosary?
Just pray the Rosary. Like, if you struggle with praying the Rosary, pray the Rosary.
I think that also means don't even think about it, right? I mean, that's the whole essence of that phrase is don't think, just do. So you do it, and maybe you can't get through the whole entire thing. Okay, well then try it again the next day.
Perseverance.
Right? Because when you do things over and over and you're intentional about them, they generally get easier or better, or you get better at them.
But it really doesn't take much time. I mean,
but what you had said was the greatest penance.
I'm just saying, if you zone out, and you just forget, and you just stop, and then you're like, "Oh, I'm a failure."
Well, there are times
couldn't even finish.
I've never not finished Rosary unless there's they start Tantum Ergo, and then I'll stop.
There are times when I'll repray a decade because I knew my mind was not at all on it.
Yeah, sometimes I do that when I'm running. I'm like, no, gosh, that was
How
10,
do you pray while you're running? I can't pray while I'm running.
Because I do what I told you.
Besides,
I meditate
like,
on those things.
I can't do anything when I run.
Yeah.
I think I need to decompress.
No, I enjoy doing that because I don't bring music, so it's like,
Can I bring up something that's terrible, but it's the truth?
Sure.
I love the Luminous Mysteries. I love the Luminous Mysteries.
Why is that terrible?
Well, it's not terrible, but it's interesting. It's unique.
Unique. There's that word again.
I pray the Luminous Mysteries are prayed on Thursday, and usually I'll pray the Rosary at the end of the day, and that means the next day is Friday. So I've developed a really strong affinity to the Luminous Mysteries. It's terrible.
So the Luminous Mysteries get a bad rap because, and in certain circles, I've had people
Bad circles.
In,
we could say
in tradition, tradition.
we could say it.
In unique traditional circles. Yeah, because they're like, oh, John Paul II came up with them. John Paul II did not come up with the Luminous Mysteries. They came from St. Louis de Montfort. And he's the one in The Secret of the Rosary writes about you can add other mysteries, such as the Transfiguration, the institution of the Eucharist, the baptism of Jesus. He's the one that suggested them. John Paul II just said, hey, guys, did you notice Louis de Montfort? Let's just make that official and a thing. And when he came out in 2004 and made the Luminous Mysteries, I actually made my own Mysteries of the Rosary. 2 sets.
Whoa.
You still pray them?
No, I don't. But I should, because they're really cool. One was the parables of Jesus and one was the miracles of Jesus.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Besides wedding feast of Cana.
Because I mean, like the raising of Lazarus. There's so much to meditate on the raising of Lazarus, but
Yeah.
Can you share all your mysteries?
I don't remember them all. I have to go
You didn't
look
write
them
them?
up.
You
I did write them down. I have to
journal?
find where they are in my
You should
prayer
publish
journal.
these.
Have all the traddies mad at me.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not even a saint like John Paul II. I don't know.
Yeah. It's not I like the Luminous Mysteries.
I do too.
There's some of
Yeah,
my most
I
I really
also
like the
do.
Transfiguration. I've always had some affinity.
And you've been there.
I have Mount Tabor.
And I have. So that's like a great mystery
And I like the Raphael
to
painting.
just
I have
think
not.
of it. You guys
Neither
got to
have
go. Everyone needs to go to the Holy Land.
You can see the Raphael painting in the Vatican museums.
I've been there. Yeah. No, that's a good one. That's a good one. Do you guys have another mystery that you're particularly affinitive with? Just made that word up.
I like-
Coming of the Holy Spirit on Pentecost.
I don't know. I'm getting into like Mary's coronation.
Okay.
Diane, you meditate the most. So hit
Yeah,
us.
I mean, I could keep going.
Best at this. So what do you?
She's like, I like all 50, all 20 deck.
I mean,
I'll
so
find
I
this one.
think I stopped at the nativity, but I'll continue.
No. That's,
No, just one more.
oh God, yeah.
The presentation.
That's a tough one.
I love it.
I wanna hear this.
I
I love
love
the
the
presentation.
presentation
Yeah, I like that
because
too.
so this is what I meditate on. And please, if I'm scripturally off base, don't like send me an email.
I'll
But,
tell you. No, I'll tell you
yeah.
right now. You're going.
But so what I think about is like, you know, like Mary just offering Jesus, Mary and Joseph offering Jesus to God, right? So like a lot of times I just think about it in terms of like my future marriage, if God wills it, and like children, like as, and even just our lives, right? Like they're not ours to grasp, and they're meant to be an offering to God. So like, however he wants to, like, to be open to say, like, I pray to God, like, please use me and my like future marriage and kids, if you will it, like for your glory. You know, like just because I think we can get wrapped up in the secular world of just thinking that our lives are like kind of just about like whatever we make of it, and not really thinking about like what is actually like not my will, but what's God's will for my life, and how am I going to like to remember the purpose of our lives is to serve him, you know, and to glorify him. And so I feel like Mary, by presenting Jesus, was like, okay, like he's not mine, I'm not going to grasp at him. It's like yeah
Wow.
yeah
That's
so
good.
that's
Good
one of the most
meditations.
powerful ones for me.
Yeah. You should write a book of like little meditations on the rosary.
I should journal them.
What
but
yeah, what Diane thinks.
yeah
Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think
I'd
about
read
these
it.
things because I have a lot to work on. So it's like, all right, these are the areas that I'm lacking in trust, or I'm lacking in like giving fully of myself. And yeah, so I think it's good.
So I don't run when I pray the rosary, but I almost always walk around if I'm not driving the car. Like I can't pray it in church. I don't know how you guys do that.
In adoration?
Yeah. I can't.
I love doing that, but I try not to because I like adoration time to just be silent.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everyone has a different style.
Yeah.
Some people pray it right before going to bed, but
Oh, I can't do it.
have you ever heard that whole saying that like your guardian angel
Yeah, finishes it?
finishes it?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
No, it's not true at all. Finish your own darn rosary. Your guardian angel has better stuff to do.
So this might be a funny thought. I have brought it up before to friends. But so I pray the rosary in the car. So me praying, I'm thinking there's grace present, right? And so like the grace is moving with my vehicle, right? And we know the spiritual world is all around us, including evil spirits. So I always wonder, like,
Are you driving faster
Could
than
I
evil
be?
spirits?
no, but just like getting in the way of an evil spirit. Like if there's one that's lingering with somebody in a car, or, you know, because we know that demons hate the rosary. They hate the
Very
Hail
much
Mary
so, yeah.
prayer. We know it. So like praying it out in public, or where you're among other people, you could be like hitting demons with it. That's
Yeah.
kind of my thought, versus me just sitting at home where I think my home is safe and protected.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, here's my thought on grace, though, because I've always had a different view of grace. Grace is not given when we pray, because grace is the divine life of God, right? So we are surrounded by that at all times. It's like if you're standing in a waterfall and then you decide to open your mouth, right? You're always surrounded by the water, but now you're actually taking some into yourself. So that, I think, is what prayer is like we're surrounded by grace. We're surrounded by God's divine life at every moment. And when we pray, we allow that into us.
Yeah, we're participating in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're drinking of it into our soul. rather than like we're in a graceless world and then we call some grace down.
Well, wouldn't it be that we would, by praying, we're responding to God's call to some extent, right? Like there's that idea,
Right.
right? And that's a grace that's working through us first.
Right. And the church has a name for that. It's prevenient grace.
Oh, that's cool.
Grace that disposes us to grace. Like that, like if you're in the state of mortal sin and you want to come back to confession, that's grace. That, shouldn't be in your soul, right? Because you're not in the state of grace, but you still receive that grace. But that's how I view grace.
I think what you're saying makes sense, but I still feel like the act of praying, somewhere out publicly around other people could be then near evil spirits who don't like the prayer.
True. Well, yeah, but I don't know. Can we say that evil spirits have a specific location?
Well, they exist, so
Yeah, but
where are they?
They're not material.
Does it matter?
Yeah.
Like, neither is an angel.
Right. Which is why angels can travel at the speed of thought.
Wait, what are we discussing?
That's pretty mind-blowing.
Okay, question about praying rosary. Who will pray the rosary on a plane in front of other people?
Oh, me.
Oh, all the
I've
time.
done
That.
that.
All the
Yeah.
time. I mean,
Yeah, it's great.
helps that I'm wearing clerics because they kind of expect
I
that.
don't work.
I try to do that now.
But I worry
But-
that by praying the rosary on a plane, people think that I'm afraid of flying
Why do you care?
Why do you care what people think?
because they're like that wimp.
So
And I'm like, no, I'm just praying the rosary because I love the rosary, not because I think we're
let
going to
yourself
crash.
be-
if you make enough
judged.
attention, everybody, I do not fear flying.
I mean,
I am just praying my rosary.
I think I pray it in the car because I'm afraid of crashing.
I can't pray it in the car unless I'm on a long drive and my car can essentially drive itself, and I can focus on a road. Otherwise, I like to drive and I like to be aggressive when I drive, and that's my activity at the time. I
That's
don't do
fair.
any other activity.
That's fair.
I
So
can
I commend
say
you.
that I do much better and I enjoy the rosary much more when I pray it with other people,
Oh yeah.
but I don't
It's
really
also
have
even
the
adult.
courage to ask people to pray it with me.
Ask your friend on the way down in
But
Queens.
We're coworkers.
So?
She is Catholic.
So?
Oh,
there you
no
go.
idea
There-
Where she's at.
But what
I
a
don't
great-
know if she goes to mass. She does Lent.
You don't have to ask. Will
I
you
don't-
pray the rosary? Will you pray the rosary with me? You say, "May I pray the rosary here, now?"
I'm not ready for that. I never even asked my roommates. I thought
And your-
about it.
and your
but
two roommates were like
I
the
know,
most holy
and
Catholic
they
women
totally
ever.
would. We just didn't do it. But like, if you would ask Father Joe, like we've prayed it, or when I was in Spain, of course, Father Andy and Sister Antonia, we prayed it in the car.
I can say from my own life, because I've been afraid to ask people to pray with me, but I've found that when I have, no one has ever refused.
No, people refuse me.
Have they really?
Well, what's wrong with you?
You want to pray the rosary? No, not right now. Okay.
Actually, no, I take that back. There have
I mean,
there have been a couple
it's not like
refusals.
no,
Oh, it's
absolutely
okay.
not. I
We
would
have
never
to
do
be
that. No,
okay with
no,
rejection.
Not right now.
You know,
Yeah.
rejection comes in all forms.
But-
and that's all right.
But you know what? If you invite and they turn you down, at least they know that when they're having a hard time, you pray. And
yeah,
they'll come to you and be like, "Yo, can you pray for me?"
right. Or they may ask you on another time that you weren't expecting, because that first invitation is like the
Yeah.
first step.
I mean, we don't pray. My roommates, we don't pray the rosary together.
Well, why not?
Should we briefly touch on the promises of the
kidding.
rosary?
Yeah. Tell me some of the promises.
Yeah,
I know there's
because,
like
I mean,
12
if you
promises
weren't
there.
already motivated to do it based on the last, however many minutes we've been talking, this should get you going.
Yeah, tell us some of the promises. of the
Yeah,
rosary.
so I mean, I'll try to go through them quickly. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So there's 15 promises apparently, and the first one is those who faithfully serve me by recitation of the rosary shall receive signal graces. I promise my special protection and the greatest graces to all those who recite the rosary. The rosary shall be a powerful armor against hell. It will destroy vice, decrease sin, and defeat heresies. The recitation of the rosary will cause virtue and good works to flourish. It will obtain the abundant mercy of God. More on that. The soul which recommends itself to me by recitation of the rosary shall not perish. Those who recite my rosary devoutly, applying themselves to consideration of its sacred mysteries, shall never be conquered by misfortune. Those who have a true devotion to the rosary shall not die without the sacraments of the church.
That's nice.
Yeah, those who faithfully recite the rosary shall have during their life and at their death the light of God and the plenitude of his graces, and they shall participate in the merits of the saints in paradise. I shall deliver from purgatory those who have been devoted to the rosary. The faithful children of the rosary shall merit a high degree of glory in heaven. By the recitation of the rosary you shall obtain all that you ask of me. Those who propagate the Holy Rosary, ask your friends to pray for them, with them will be aided by me in their necessities. I've obtained from my divine Son that all the advocates of the Rosary shall have for their intercessors the entire celestial court during their life and at the hour of their death. All who recite the Rosary are my beloved children and the brothers and sisters of my only Son, Jesus Christ, and devotion for my Rosary is a great sign of predestination.
I will say this. I know a man who was struggling with an addiction to porn, and he was praying like, Lord, how long is this struggle going to be in my life? And he felt Our Lady say to his heart, when you've prayed one rosary for every time you've committed this sin, you'll be free of your addiction. And he found that to be the case.
Yeah.
He had a lot of rosaries to pray.
But I've found, too, in my own life, and I'm not going to get into specifics of what those issues have been, like things that I couldn't overcome myself. I feel like with the rosary, the door was just opened, just like she promised.
Have you also heard that, like, one rosary, it's like a scale, one rosary, all your sin, one rosary, like, takes it all away?
Yes,
like
I've heard that image.
Someone's vision or something.
I've heard that image, but we have to...
As in the power of one rosary.
Yeah, it's not confession. It's not, it's not the blood of Christ. We have to be careful not to exalt the rosary as if it were somehow a magic charm that's a free ticket to heaven, as if we prayed it without faith. It's ultimately the mysteries of Christ through the intercession of Our Lady that gets us that, that healing and all those great promises.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an image that I think that's worth meditating on.
Mm-hmm. And it just speaks to, you don't know how much good all these prayers are doing, right? And we never will.
I was reading a story about an exorcist
till we die,
who was obviously doing an exorcism, and he was praying the Hail Mary, and the devil screamed through this person and said, "You have Mary, but if I had Mary and one instant, I would not be a demon."
Wow.
Like he'd be able to convert if he had one instant and he had Mary. That was it. He'd still be an angel. But he doesn't have either. Too bad for him. Thank you for joining us in this episode of Restless.
Wow. Exorcism.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
End with that. Anyway, no, I guess the challenge should be to go out and pray the rosary and try to love it. The more you do it, the more you will love it, because you'll find incredible blessings and graces in your life. Some of the blessings that Diane mentioned, some of the blessings that we've all experienced. And even if you struggle with it, as Lauren said, just do it. Just do it. It's worth it. You can find us on Veritas Catholic. Keep doing it. Absolutely. Veritas Catholic Network is 1350 AM and also 103.5 FM. You find us on Google Play, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Tune in next time.